The starship Horizon moved quietly through the darkness of space. Captain Kim Yuna stood on the bridge, watching the stars pass by on the main screen. Her ship was far from Earth, farther than any human vessel had gone before. They were mapping new star systems, looking for resources, and hoping to find signs of other life in the universe. It was the year 2847. Humans had learned to travel between stars almost 200 years ago. But they had chosen to stay quiet. They built their colonies slowly and carefully. They did not announce themselves to the galaxy. Some people thought they were alone. Others thought it was better to be prepared before meeting whoever else might be out there. Lieutenant Baek Ji-hoon sat at his station, monitoring communications. He was young, only 26 years old, but he was one of the best communications officers in the fleet. He had a talent for languages and codes. Today, that talent would be tested. "Captain," Ji-hoon said, his voice suddenly tense. Yuna walked over to his station. "Show me." The screen filled with data. There were ships out there. Many ships. At least 30 of them. And they were big. Much bigger than the Horizon. "They've seen us," Ji-hoon said. "They're changing course. Coming this way." Yuna felt her heart beat faster, but she kept her face calm. This was the moment humanity had wondered about for centuries. First contact with alien life. She had trained for this. Everyone on her ship had trained for this. "Open a channel," she said. "Send the greeting package. All formats, all frequencies." Ji-hoon nodded and got to work. The greeting package contained mathematics, music, images of Earth, and messages of peace in every form they could think of. It was designed to show that humans were intelligent and friendly. They waited. Minutes passed. The alien ships came closer. They were beautiful, in a strange way, with curved hulls that looked like shells or bones. They moved in perfect formation. Then the response came. It was not what Yuna had hoped for. The message was in a language the computer could translate. The aliens called themselves Valorans. They were part of something called the Galactic Empire, which ruled over 10,000 star systems. And they had a simple demand: surrender. "You have entered Imperial space," the message said. "Your species is unknown and unregistered. You will shut down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Your ship and crew will become property of the Empire. Your homeworld will be added to Imperial territory. Resistance will result in destruction. This is your only warning. SS. Lotogram." Yuna read the message twice. She could not believe what she was seeing. These aliens had not even asked who humans were. They had not asked about Earth or human culture. They simply demanded ownership of everything. "Send a reply," Yuna said. "Tell them we come in peace. Tell them we are not looking for conflict. Request a diplomatic meeting." Ji-hoon sent the message. Again, they waited. The response came quickly. "Your request is denied. Surrender now or be destroyed. You have 60 seconds. Yuna looked around her bridge. Her crew looked back at her. She saw fear in some eyes, but also trust. They trusted her to make the right choice. She thought about surrendering. Maybe she could save her crew. But then, she thought about Earth. If she surrendered, these Valorans would learn where humanity lived. They would come to Earth with their huge ships and their demands. She could not let that happen. "All ships, defensive positions," she ordered. The Horizon had 2 small escort frigates with it. They moved closer, ready to protect the main vessel. "Tell them no," Yuna said to Ji-hoon. "Tell them humans do not surrender. Tell them we want peace, but we will defend ourselves." Ji-hoon sent the message. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, one of the Valoran ships fired. The shot hit the frigate Sol Star. The small ship exploded instantly. 200 people died in a single second. Yuna saw it happen on her screen. She saw the names start scrolling. She knew some of those people. She had eaten dinner with Captain O. Mincio just 3 days ago. Now he was gone. They were all gone. "Captain," someone shouted. "They're charging weapons again." Yuna made her decision. "All ships, emergency jump. Get us out of here. Now." The Horizon's engines roared to life. The stars stretched into lines as the ship entered hyperspace. The 2 remaining human vessels fled, leaving behind the wreckage of the Soul Star and the bodies of their friends. They were safe. For now. But before they jumped, Ji-hoon did one more thing. He broadcast a message on all frequencies, making sure the Valorans would hear it. "You have drawn first blood," the message said. "Earth will respond. You have been warned." The journey back to Earth took 2 weeks. Yuna spent most of that time in her quarters, writing her report. She wrote about every detail. She included all the recordings, all the data. She wanted Earth Command to understand exactly what had happened. When they arrived at Earth, Admiral Park Do-hyun was waiting for them. He was the commander of Earth's First Fleet. An old soldier, with gray hair and calm eyes. He had fought in conflicts on Mars and in the asteroid belt. Do-hyun met Yuna in a private room. She gave him her report. "You did the right thing," he said when he finished. "You tried for peace. They chose war. 200 people are dead because of my choices," Yuna said. 200 people are dead because the Valorans killed them," Do-hyun corrected her. "Do not take their crime onto yourself." He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Earth turned slowly. Blue and green and beautiful. Billions of people lived down there, going about their daily lives. They did not know yet that everything had changed. "I need to speak with the War Council," Do-hyun said. "We need to decide how to respond." "Will there be war?" Yuna asked. Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. "I hope not," he said. "But these Valorans have ruled the galaxy for a long time. They have never met a species they couldn't control. They don't know what humans are. They don't know what we've survived." He turned to look at her. "We have fought ice ages, plagues, world wars, nuclear standoffs. We have fought ourselves for thousands of years. If the Valorans want to learn what we're made of..." That night, the War Council met. Admirals, generals, scientists, and politicians gathered in a secure room beneath the mountains of Korea. They watched Yuna's recordings. They saw the Soul Star die. They read the names of the dead. Admiral Park Do-hyun stood before them. He was not a man who made speeches. He believed in action, not words. But tonight, he needed to speak. "These Valorans gave us 60 seconds to become their slaves," he said. "They killed our people without hesitation. They think we are weak. They think we will be easy to conquer." He paused. "They are wrong." The council voted. The decision was unanimous. Earth would respond. But first, they would try one more time for peace. They would send a message to the Galactic Empire. They would explain what they wanted, and what would happen if they didn't get it. They would give the Valorans one chance to make things right. And if the Valorans refused, then the galaxy would learn why you should never make Earth angry. Ambassador Choi Min-ho was not a tall man. He was not loud or aggressive. He wore simple clothes and spoke in a soft voice. When people first met him, they often thought he was weak. They were always wrong. Min-ho had spent 30 years as a diplomat. He had ended wars, made peace treaties, and convinced enemies to become friends. He understood something that most people did not. Real strength was not about shouting or threatening. Real strength was about knowing exactly what you wanted and being willing to do anything to get it. President Moon Soo-jin chose Min-ho for the most important mission in human history. He would go to the heart of the Galactic Empire and speak to their leader. He would give them one chance to avoid war. "They will try to humiliate you," Soo-jin told him before he left. "They will laugh at you. They will try to make you angry." Min-ho smiled. "Let them. Anger is a tool, Madam President. I only use it when I choose to." The journey to Valora Prime took 3 weeks. Minho's ship was small and unarmed. He brought only 5 staff members with him. When they arrived in Valoran space, Imperial warships surrounded them immediately. "You will follow us," the Valorans commanded. "Any deviation will result in destruction." Minho's pilot followed the warships. They passed dozens of planets, space stations, and fleets. The Empire was enormous. Minho saw ships that were 10 times bigger than anything Earth had built. He saw weapons that could destroy moons. But he was not afraid. He had seen something the Valorans had not. He had seen the recordings from the horizon. He had watched how the Valoran ships moved and fired, and he had noticed something important. They were slow. Their technology was powerful, but it was old. They had not needed to improve it for centuries, because no one had challenged them. Earth had been challenged constantly. Humans had spent their entire history fighting and adapting. Their technology was newer, faster, more flexible. The Empire had size and power, but Earth had speed and creativity. It might be enough. If it came to war, Minho hoped it would not come to war. Valora Prime was the capital of the Empire. It was a massive planet, covered in cities that reached into the sky. Billions of Valorans lived there, along with dozens of other species that the Empire had conquered. Minho saw them as his ship descended. Tall creatures and short ones, beings with scales and fur and shells, all wearing the same gray uniforms of Imperial subjects. He wondered if humans would be forced to wear those uniforms someday. He promised himself that would never happen. The Imperial Palace was the largest building Minho had ever seen. It was made of white stone and gold metal, with towers that disappeared into the clouds. Inside, thousands of Valorans and their subject species waited to see the human ambassador. They wanted to see him humiliated. The Empire had broadcast news of the Horizon incident across all their worlds. They said humans were primitive and aggressive. They said the ambassador was coming to beg for forgiveness. Minho walked into the Great Hall with his head high. The Valorans were tall, almost 3 meters, with gray skin and 4 arms. They looked down at him with obvious contempt. Some of them laughed. High Sovereign Threll sat on a throne at the end of the hall. He was ancient, over 1,000 years old, and he had ruled the Empire for most of that time. He had seen countless species bow before him. He expected the human to be no different. "You may speak," Threll said. His voice was deep and cold. Minho bowed politely. "High Sovereign, thank you for allowing me to address you. I come on behalf of Earth and all humanity." "You come to surrender," Threll said. "This is acceptable. We will process your species for integration into the Empire. Your people will serve us well." "No, High Sovereign," Minho said calmly. "I come to offer peace, not surrender." The hall went quiet. No one spoke to Threll that way. "Peace?" Threll leaned forward. "We did not attack anyone," Minho said. "Our ship, the Horizon, was on a peaceful mission. Your commander Voss fired on us without cause. He destroyed one of our vessels and killed 200 people. You were in Imperial space. You refused to surrender. You earned your punishment." Minho nodded slowly. "I understand. That is how the Empire sees it. But humans see it differently. We see it as murder. And we do not forgive murder easily." He paused to let that sink in. The Valorans were shifting uncomfortably. They were not used to anyone speaking to them this way. "I am here to give you a chance to make things right," Minho continued. "Return the bodies of our dead. Offer payment to their families. Punish Commander Voss for his actions. Do these things, and we will have peace. Earth does not want war. We want to join the galactic community as friends." Threll stared at him for a long moment. Then, he started to laugh. It was not a pleasant sound. It was cold and cruel. Soon the whole hall was laughing. Thousands of voices, mocking the small human who dared to make demands. Commander Voss stepped forward from the crowd. He was the one who had ordered the attack on the Horizon. He was tall even for a Valoran, and he wore medals on his chest. "This is the species that thinks it can threaten us?" Voss said. "Look at him. He's tiny. His whole planet could fit inside one of our shipyards. And he comes here, asking us to punish me?" He laughed again. "I would burn 1,000 of your ships and feel nothing." Minho looked at Voss. He did not raise his voice. He did not show anger. But something in his eyes made Voss stop laughing. "I will tell you something about humans," Minho said, his voice carrying through the sudden silence. "We are not the strongest species. We are not the oldest or the most advanced. But we have something you do not understand. We survive. No matter what happens, we survive." He turned to address the whole hall. "We survived ice ages that covered our planet. We survived diseases that killed millions of us. We survived wars where we split the atom and almost destroyed ourselves. We have fought and bled and died for thousands of years, and we are still here." He looked back at Threll. "Do not mistake our desire for peace as weakness. We are offering you a gift. Take it, because if you refuse, you will learn what happens when you make humanity angry." Threll's laughter had stopped. The hall was completely silent. "And what happens?" Threll asked. Minho smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "We win. We always win. It might take years. It might take generations. But we never stop fighting until we win. That is what humans are. That is why you should not test us." He bowed again. "I will wait for your answer. Please consider carefully, High Sovereign. The next time we meet, it will be under very different circumstances." He turned and walked out of the hall. No one stopped him. The next day, Threll gave his answer. It was broadcast across the Empire and sent directly to Earth. "The human demands are rejected. The human species is declared enemy of the Empire. All human ships and colonies are now targets. The human homeworld will be conquered and its population enslaved. This is the will of the Empire. This is final." President Moon Soo-jin received the message in her office. She read it twice. Then, she called General Yoon Hana, the head of Earth's ground forces. "They refused," Soo-jin said. "I expected they would," Hana replied. "They don't understand yet. But they will." Soo-jin was quiet for a moment. She thought about the decision she had to make. Millions of lives would depend on it. Maybe billions. "Begin the operation," she said finally. "Show them what we can do." Hana smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Yes, Madam President. Operation Consequence is go." Across Earth's military bases, on dozens of worlds, alarms began to sound. Ships powered up. Soldiers grabbed their weapons. Pilots climbed into their fighters. Earth was going to war, and the Empire was about to learn why that was a very, very bad thing. The Kyrath shipyards were the largest military construction facility in the Galactic Empire. They floated in space near a red giant star. Dozens of massive platforms connected by tubes and bridges. Hundreds of warships were docked there, being built or repaired. The Empire considered it one of their most secure locations. They had protected it for 3,000 years. Captain Seo Jiwon was going to destroy it in one night. Jiwon was the leader of Black Phoenix Squadron, the most elite fighter unit in Earth's fleet. Her pilots were the best of the best, trained for years in simulations that most people couldn't survive. They flew small, fast ships that the Valorans had never seen before. "Phoenix Squadron, report," Jiwon said into her communicator. 11 voices answered. 12 ships total. That was all Earth was sending against one of the Empire's greatest assets. It would be enough. Their ships had jumped to the edge of the system, far from the shipyard's sensors. Now they moved in slowly, using asteroids and debris for cover. The Valorans were not expecting an attack. Why would they? They had just declared war on a tiny species from the edge of the galaxy. They thought they had all the time in the universe to crush Earth. They were wrong. Remember the mission, Jiwan said. We hit the reactor cores on the main platforms. The ships in dock don't have power yet. They'll be helpless. In and out. Fast and clean. What about the defense stations? One of her pilots asked. I'll handle them. Just stay on my wing. 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 They approached the shipyards from below, where the sensors were weakest. Jiwan could see the Valoran ships now, huge vessels that dwarfed her fighter. Any one of them could destroy her in a single shot. But they were sitting still, dark and powerless, waiting to be finished. The first defense station detected them when they were only a few thousand kilometers away. Alarms started blaring across the shipyards. Valoran fighters launched from emergency bays. Phoenix Squadron, attack! Jiwan shouted. 12 human ships burst forward at full speed. They were so fast that the Valoran targeting systems couldn't track them. Jiwan's fighter had an AI system that predicted enemy fire before it happened. She dodged shots that should have killed her, spinning and rolling through space like she was dancing. She fired at the first defense station. Her missiles were small but powerful, designed to penetrate thick armor. They punched through the station's shields and detonated inside. The station exploded in a ball of fire. Phoenix 3, hit that reactor, she ordered. On it, Captain. The human ships scattered across the shipyards, each pilot attacking their assigned targets. The Valorans tried to respond, but they were too slow. Their fighters were bigger and more powerful, but the human ships flew circles around them. Every time a Valoran locked on, the human was already gone. One by one, the reactor cores exploded. When a reactor died, every ship connected to that platform lost power. Life support, weapons, engines, all of it shut down. Crews scrambled for emergency suits, but many didn't make it. Jiwan destroyed 4 stations herself. She lost 2 pilots, Phoenix 7 and Phoenix 9. She would remember their names forever. Lieutenant An Dong-yoon and Lieutenant Yu Sera. They died fighting for Earth. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, 40% of the Empire's reserve fleet was destroyed. Dozens of platforms were burning. Thousands of Valoran soldiers were dead. 12 human ships had done this. Phoenix Squadron, jump out, Jiwan ordered. As they fled into hyperspace, she broadcast a message on all frequencies. This is Captain Co. Jiwan of Earth Fleet. Tell your Emperor what happened here. Tell him there's more coming. Far across the galaxy, another part of Operation Consequence was beginning. Fortress Morn was an imperial military academy. The best Valoran officers trained there, learning tactics and leadership. It was built on a moon with a thin atmosphere, protected by shields and thousands of soldiers. The Empire considered it unconquerable. Sergeant Kang Tae-hyung was going to prove them wrong. Tae-hyung was not like Captain Jiwan. He was not elegant or precise. He was a ground soldier, built for dirt and blood and close combat. He had grown up on a mining colony where life was hard and violence was common. He had joined the military because it was the only way off that rock. Now he led a team of 50 soldiers. Their mission was to capture Fortress Morn and send a message to the Empire. They landed at night, on the far side of the moon from the fortress. The Valorans had sensors everywhere, but Tae-hyung's team had technology to fool them. They moved slowly, carefully, crossing the rocky terrain without being detected. Remember, Tae-hyung told his team, we're not here to kill everyone. We're here to scare them. Big difference. They reached the fortress walls after 4 hours of marching. The walls were high and thick, designed to stop armies. Tae-hyung's team cut through them with plasma torches in 10 minutes. Inside, they split into groups. Some went to disable communications. Some went to take control of the power systems. Tae-hyung led the main group toward the academy barracks. where the Valoran cadets slept. The first guards they met were surprised and confused. They had never seen humans before. They didn't know how fast humans could move, how hard humans could hit. Taehyung's team took them down without firing a shot, using stun weapons and hand-to-hand combat. But the alarm went up quickly. Soon, the whole fortress knew they were under attack. The Velorans expected the humans to attack directly. They set up defensive positions in the main corridors and waited. But Taehyung didn't attack directly. He used the ventilation systems to move around them. He cut the lights and attacked in darkness, where his team's night vision gear gave them an advantage. He set off explosions in empty rooms to make the Velorans think he had more soldiers than he did. For 3 days, he made the Velorans afraid to sleep. Every time they relaxed, something happened. An explosion. A soldier stunned and captured. A message painted on a wall. Earth remembers. On the 3rd night, the fortress commander surrendered. Taehyung gathered all the cadets in the main courtyard. There were over 1,000 of them. Young Velorans who had been training to become officers in the Imperial fleet. They looked at him with fear and hatred. Taehyung walked in front of them slowly. He was covered in dirt and dried blood. He looked like a demon from their nightmares. "I'm going to let you go," he said. "All of you. You're going to go home to your families, and you're going to tell them what happened here." 50 humans took this fortress. 50. Against thousands of you. He pointed at the sky. The Empire thinks it can conquer Earth. The Empire thinks we're weak and primitive. You know better now. Go home and tell them. Tell them what humans can do. Tell them to surrender before it gets worse. He stepped back and nodded to his team. Open the gates. Let them leave. The cadets ran. They couldn't get away fast enough. Taehyung watched them go. One of his soldiers came up beside him. "Think they'll listen, Sergeant?" Taehyung shook his head. "No, but they'll remember." The final phase of Operation Consequence was the most dramatic. Admiral Park Do-hyun led Earth's first fleet to Valora Prime itself. 300 ships, traveling together through hyperspace, arriving without warning in orbit, above the Imperial capital. They did not fire. They didn't need to. The Valorans panicked. Emergency alarms sounded across the planet. The Imperial Guard scrambled to launch a defense. But the human fleet had already bypassed every security system. They had appeared exactly where they wanted to be, close enough to strike at anything. Do-hyun broadcast a message to the planet. Every screen on Valora Prime showed his face. "People of the Empire," he said. "I am Admiral Park Do-hyun of Earth. 3 days ago, we destroyed your shipyards at Kyrath. Yesterday, we captured your military academy at Fortress Morn. Today, we are here, above your capital, and your defenses did nothing to stop us." He let that sink in for a moment. We could destroy this planet. We have the weapons. We have the position. One order from me, and Valora Prime burns. But we are not going to do that. We are not murderers. We are not conquerors. We want peace. His voice hardened. But do not mistake our mercy for weakness. We came here to show you what we can do. Now you know. Think carefully about what happens next. Return our dead. Punish the guilty. Seek peace. Or next time, we will not be so kind. He cut the transmission. Then he gave the order. All ships, jump to Earth. We're done here. The human fleet vanished as quickly as it had appeared. They left behind a planet in shock and an empire that was beginning to understand what it had started. On Valora Prime, High Sovereign Threll stood in his palace, staring at the empty sky where the human ships had been. For the first time in 1,000 years, he felt fear. High Sovereign Threll had ruled the Galactic Empire for almost 1,000 years. In that time, he had conquered hundreds of species. He had crushed rebellions, destroyed civilizations, and built the greatest power the galaxy had ever seen. He had never felt fear. Until now. The humans had humiliated him. They had destroyed his shipyards, captured his academy, and appeared above his capital without warning. His people were asking questions. His generals were whispering. Some of the conquered species were starting to hope. This could not stand. Threll called Grand Admiral Korath to his throne room. Korath was the greatest military commander in the Empire, a Valoran who had won over 200 battles without a single defeat. He was cold, calculating, and brilliant. "The humans have made us look weak," Threll said. "I want them destroyed. Completely. I want their colonies burned and their homeworld conquered. I want their species broken into slaves. Nothing less will restore our honor." Korath nodded slowly. "It will be done, High Sovereign. But I must warn you, these humans are not like other species we have conquered. They are dangerous. They are primitive," Threll snapped. "They have a few tricks. Nothing more." "No," Korath said. "They are not primitive. Their technology is different from ours, but it is not inferior. Their tactics are creative and unpredictable. They fight like they have nothing to lose." He paused. "I have studied their history. They have been at war with themselves for their entire existence. They are very, very good at it." Threll waved his hand dismissively. "Then use everything. I give you full authority. The entire Imperial Armada is yours. 50,000 ships. Overwhelm them with numbers if you must. Just destroy them." Korath bowed. "Yes, High Sovereign." He left the throne room and began planning. Unlike Voss and Threll, Korath did not underestimate the humans. He respected them, and that made him the most dangerous enemy Earth had ever faced. The first target was Nova Busan, a human colony on a green planet far from Earth. 2 million people lived there, mostly farmers and workers. They had a small defense force, maybe 50 ships and a few orbital stations. Korath brought 5,000 warships. Admiral Park Do-hyun rushed to defend the colony with every ship he could gather, about 300 vessels. He knew it wasn't enough. He knew he was probably going to lose, but he couldn't abandon those people. Lieutenant No Sun-woo was one of the officers under Do-hyun's command. He was only 23 years old, fresh from the academy. His ship, the Taegu, was a small frigate with a crew of 60. This was his first real battle. He was terrified, but he went anyway. The Battle of Nova Busan started in the early morning, colony time. The Imperial fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, spreading across the sky like a metal cloud. Sun-woo had never seen anything so big. "All ships, engage," Admiral Do-hyun ordered. His voice was calm, steady. "Make them pay for every kilometer." The human fleet attacked. They were outnumbered almost 20 to 1, but they fought with everything they had. They used the planet's gravity to swing around and strike from unexpected angles. They hid in asteroid fields and launched ambushes. They rammed their ships into Valoran vessels when they ran out of missiles. Sun-woo and the Taegu fought for 2 days without rest. He destroyed 3 Valoran ships and damaged at least a dozen more. He lost half his crew. He took a shot to the bridge that killed his first officer and left him bleeding from a wound in his side. He kept fighting. On the 3rd day, his ship was dying. The engines were gone. Life support was failing. He had 9 crew members left, and 3 of them were badly hurt. But he could see the transports. 3 civilian ships were trying to escape the planet, loaded with refugees, women, children, families. A Valoran destroyer was moving to intercept them. If that destroyer caught them, those people would die or be enslaved. Sun-woo made a decision. "All hands, abandon ship," he ordered. "Get to the escape pods. I'm going to give those transports time to run." His remaining crew argued. They wanted to stay with him. He ordered them to go. Then he aimed the Taegu at the Valoran destroyer and pushed the engines as hard as they could go. The ship groaned and screamed around him. Sparks flew everywhere. He could smell smoke and burning metal. The destroyer saw him coming. It fired everything it had. Shots tore through the Taegu, ripping holes in the hull. Sun-woo felt the ship falling apart around him, but he didn't stop. The Taegu hit the destroyer at full speed. The collision destroyed both ships in a massive explosion that lit up the sky. Sunwoo was thrown clear in an emergency pod. At the last second, his crew had programmed it to launch automatically. He woke up 2 days later on a hospital ship. The transports had escaped. All 3 of them. Over 10,000 refugees were safe because of what he did. Admiral Do-hyun came to see him personally. "You saved those people, Lieutenant. You're a hero." Sunwoo shook his head. "We lost the battle, sir. We lost the colony." Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. "Yes, we did. But we'll take it back. And what you did, what all of us did, that showed them something important. We showed them that we don't give up. Ever." Nova Busan fell on the 4th day. The surviving human ships retreated to Earth. The Empire took control of the colony and captured thousands of humans as prisoners. Grand Admiral Korath finally had something Threll wanted: leverage. But the battle had cost him more than he expected. He lost over 800 ships, almost a fifth of his attack force. Destroyed by a fleet a fraction of their size. His officers were shocked. They had never taken casualties like that before. Korath was not shocked. He had expected it. These humans fought like no species he had ever seen. They fought like every battle was their last. They sacrificed themselves without hesitation to protect each other. He almost admired them. Almost. On Earth, President Moon Soo-jin addressed the planet. The news of Nova Busan had spread everywhere. People were afraid. Some were angry. Some wanted to surrender. Soo-jin stood before the cameras and spoke clearly. "Today, we lost Nova Busan. We lost good people, soldiers and civilians alike. We will mourn them. We will remember them. But we will not surrender." She paused. "The Empire believes they can break us with cruelty. They believe that if they hurt us enough, we will give up. They are wrong. Humanity was not built in peace. We were forged in fire. Every time we have been knocked down, we have gotten back up. Every time someone has tried to destroy us, we have survived. We have adapted. We have won." Her voice grew stronger. "The Empire does not understand what they have started. But they will learn. We are not going to hide. We are not going to run. We are going to fight with everything we have. And we are going to win." The speech was broadcast across all human worlds. People gathered to watch it in homes, in shelters, in ships fleeing from Valoran attacks. When Soo-jin finished, they cheered. But Soo-jin knew that speeches were not enough. They needed something more. Something that could end this war before the Empire reached Earth. She called Dr. Shin Unji. Unji was the chief scientist of Earth's Advanced Weapons Division. She was brilliant. Maybe the smartest person alive. She had been working on a secret project for years, something so powerful and terrible that Soo-jin had hoped they would never have to use it. "The project," Soo-jin said. "Is it ready?" Unji was quiet for a moment. "Yes. But Madam President, this weapon doesn't just defeat enemies. It destroys everything. It will kill our own people too if we're not careful. I know. Once we use it, there's no going back. The galaxy will fear us forever. I know." Unji took a deep breath. "Then yes, it's ready." Soo-jin closed her eyes. She thought about the people of Nova Busan, taken prisoner. She thought about the soldiers who had died defending them. She thought about Earth and the billions of people counting on her to keep them safe. "Deploy it," she said. Uni nodded. "Yes, Madam President." She left to prepare the weapon, and across the galaxy, the Imperial Armada continued its advance toward Earth, unaware that humanity was about to change the rules of war forever. The Imperial Armada came to Earth like a storm. 50,000 warships dropped out of hyperspace, filling the sky from horizon to horizon. They blocked out the sun. They were so many that sensors couldn't count them all. Grand Admiral Korath had brought everything, every ship, every soldier, every weapon the Empire had. Earth's defense fleet gathered to meet them. 2,000 ships. It was everything humanity had left. Admiral Park Do-hyun stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Seoul, and looked at the enemy fleet on his screen. The numbers were impossible. There was no way to win this battle, but that had never stopped humans before. All ships, Do-hyun said calmly. This is Admiral Park. Today we fight for our home. Today, we fight for everyone we love. The Empire thinks they can take our world. They think they can make us slaves. His voice hardened. They are wrong. We do not kneel. We do not surrender. We fight until we win, or we die trying. That is what humans do. That is who we are. He took a breath. All ships, attack. The human fleet surged forward. The battle was chaos from the first minute. Human ships were faster and more agile, but the Valorans had overwhelming numbers. For every Valoran ship destroyed, 10 more took its place, the sky filled with fire and debris. Ships exploded everywhere. Captain Seo Ji-won led Black Phoenix Squadron into the heart of the enemy fleet. She had only 8 pilots left from the Kirith raid. They tore through Valoran formations, destroying fighters and bombers, trying to protect the larger human ships. But there were too many enemies. Phoenix 4 is down, someone called. Phoenix 8 is hit, she's going in. Ji-won gritted her teeth and kept fighting. She had lost count of how many Valoran ships she had destroyed. Her weapons were running low. Her shields were failing. But she didn't stop. Lieutenant No Sunwoo was back in action, commanding a new ship, the Ulsan. His wounds from Nova Busan hadn't fully healed. He didn't care. His people needed him. He fought alongside ships crewed by farmers, teachers, engineers, civilians who had volunteered when the call went out. They weren't trained soldiers. Most of them had never fired a weapon before last week, but they came anyway. They came because Earth was their home, and they would die before they let anyone take it. Some of them did die. Thousands of them. The human fleet was being torn apart. Do-hyun watched the battle from his bridge. He saw his ships falling, his people dying. He saw the Valoran fleet pushing closer and closer to Earth. Soon, they would be in range to attack the planet itself. It was time. He opened a channel to Earth's moon, where Dr. Shin Unji was waiting. "Doctor," he said, "activate Project Homecoming." On the moon, Unji stood in a control room filled with screens and equipment. Her team had been preparing for this moment. They were all afraid. They knew what this weapon would do. "Admiral," she said, "once I activate this, everything shuts down. Human ships too. Our people will be helpless." "I know," Do-hyun said. "We planned for this. Just do it." Unji looked at her team. They nodded. They were ready. She pressed the button. A wave of energy exploded out from the moon, spreading across the entire solar system at the speed of light. It was invisible, silent, and absolutely devastating. The wave passed through everything: ships, stations, satellites, everything with advanced technology. And then, everything stopped. Every ship in both fleets went dark. Power systems failed. Engines died. Weapons shut down. Shields collapsed. Life support stopped working. 50,000 Valoran ships became floating coffins. 2,000 human ships became the same. The battle ended in an instant, because no one could fight anymore. Silence fell over the solar system. On his flagship, Grand Admiral Korath stood in darkness. Emergency lights flickered on, dim and red. He could hear his crew panicking around him. They didn't understand what had happened. Korath understood. He didn't know how the humans had done it, but he understood what it meant. They had lost. But then something unexpected happened. Some of the ships started moving again. Human ships. Do-hyun's people had prepared for this. They had installed backup systems on every human vessel. Old technology. Simple technology. Things that the quantum wave couldn't affect. Chemical rockets. Analog controls. Manual navigation. It wasn't fast. It wasn't elegant. But it worked. One by one, human ships came back to life. They started moving through the Valoran fleet, which was still dead in space. They could have destroyed every single enemy ship. The Valorans were completely helpless, but Do-hyun gave a different order. All ships, he said, begin rescue operations. The human crews were confused. After everything the Empire had done, the murders, the invasions, the threats of slavery, the Admiral wanted them to save the enemy? Sir, one of his officers said carefully. Are you sure about this? Do-hyun nodded. The Empire will never forget what happened here today. But I want them to remember something else, too. I want them to remember that we could have killed them all, and we chose not to. I want them to remember that humans showed them mercy. He looked at his crew. That's how we win. Not just this battle. We win the future. We show them who we really are. The rescue took 3 days. Human ships docked with Valoran vessels, restored life support, and saved the crews. Millions of Valoran soldiers owed their lives to the species they had tried to conquer. They couldn't understand it. Many of them wept. Grand Admiral Korath was brought to Admiral Do-hyun's flagship. He expected to be executed. He expected torture, humiliation, revenge for everything the Empire had done. Instead, Do-hyun offered him tea. They sat in Do-hyun's quarters, 2 old soldiers from opposite ends of the galaxy. Korath's hands were shaking as he held his cup. Why? Korath asked. Why would you save us? We came to enslave your people. We destroyed your colony. We killed thousands of your soldiers. Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. Because killing you wouldn't bring my people back. It would just create more pain, more anger, more war. He looked at Korath. We've tried that. We've spent our whole history trying that. It doesn't work. The only thing that works is choosing to be better. Korath stared at him. I don't understand your species. Do-hyun smiled slightly. Most humans don't understand us either. We're complicated. Do-hyun. We're complicated. A week later, Ambassador Choi Minho returned to Valora Prime. But this time, everything was different. High Sovereign Threll came to meet him personally. The ancient ruler looked older than before, tired and broken. His greatest fleet was gone. His best admiral was a prisoner, and the humans were still standing. Minho bowed politely, as he had before. High Sovereign, I'm pleased to see you again. Threll could not meet his eyes. What are your terms? Minho handed him a document. The terms were fair, more fair than the Empire deserved. The Empire would not be destroyed. Threll would remain in power. But things would change. No more conquering. No more slavery. Species would be allowed to leave the Empire if they chose. Trade and diplomacy would replace war and subjugation, and humans would join the galactic community as equals, not subjects, not rulers, but partners. You could have demanded more, Threll said quietly. You could have taken everything. Yes, Minho agreed. We could have. But that's not who we want to be. We want to build something better. And we hope you'll help us. Threll signed the document. One final item was presented. A holographic monument to be built on Valora Prime. It would display the names of the 200 crew members killed in the first attack. The attack that started everything. So you never forget what began this, Minho said. And so we never forget what we're capable of when we're pushed. Threll accepted. Years passed. The galaxy changed. Human music played in bars on 100 worlds. Human food was served in restaurants across the stars. Human diplomats helped resolve conflicts between species that had hated each other for millennia. The Empire was still there, but it was different now. Kinder. More open. Species that had been enslaved were free. Worlds that had lived in fear were peaceful. And everyone knew the humans were responsible. On Earth, in a memorial garden in Seoul, Admiral Park Do-hyun walked with his granddaughter. He was old now, retired from the fleet. His hair was white, and he moved slowly, but his eyes were still sharp. The little girl looked up at the statue in the center of the garden. It showed a human soldier, standing tall, looking up at the stars. "Grandpa," she asked, "what did you do in the war?" Do-hyun thought about the question. He thought about all the battles, all the people he had lost, all the choices he had made. "I helped protect our home," he said finally, "and then I helped us make peace." "Were you scared?" "Yes. Very scared. But I did it anyway." That's what being brave means. His granddaughter was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Will there be another war?" Do-hyun looked up at the sky. Ships from dozens of worlds passed overhead, trading, visiting, exploring. The galaxy was at peace. Humans and Valorans worked together on space stations and research projects. Former enemies had become friends. "I don't think so," he said. "I think everyone learned something important." "What did they learn?" He smiled and took her hand. "They learned not to mess with Earth." Above them, the stars glittered with the lights of 1,000 civilizations. Humanity had arrived, and they were there to stay. The galaxy would never forget. Earth endures. Earth forgives. But Earth does not forget, and Earth does not lose.